Hello and welcome, family, to another Dr. Mumbi spiritual show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life in your own narrative, because it's your own narrative that will act as a vehicle for you to move into the new earth and the new reality. Because you have to be in a certain mental space. You have to be in a certain mental, you have to have a certain mental agility to even be able to recognize the new earth that is very much here, the new dispensation that is very much here, family. And it's so important that you get into your own narrative and your own version of the truth of everything that has happened, so that you can get off, you can release the lies. Because the lies that Babylon have told you are the gatekeepers to your destiny, or to the next you, or to this new earth, to the new reality, however you want to put it, family. But those are stories for other days. Thank you so much to every single person that has supported us on Patreon. We appreciate, love you so much for doing that and enabling us to keep our focus here on bringing the awakening news, which I find is shifting and changing so much. And it's super, super exciting to be here at such a time as this, family. And, I did a show recently where I talked about how it's so important for us, a special message actually from the ancient ones, where I was talking about how important it is to study yourself, to really get to know yourself. Because, in the previous dispensation, you were only maybe 6% online. I think that's what they used to say, like the human uses 6% of their DNA or whatever, or their brain capacity or whatever, family. But now some of us are 100, some of us are 80, some of us are 90. You're definitely way beyond. You have to be above 50 to even exist, to even go through the door to the new earth of being activated, being awakened. That's why so many of us, COVID was a blessing in disguise, family, because many used those 2 years to get themselves together. They were able to mentally heal, mentally focus, and recalibrate. A lot of people fell to Satan, through all his plans and all the wickedness that he did in those 2 years. But it also triggered a lot of people's awakening, healing, restoration, some even resurrection. And you are a very different person today than you were yesterday. And I really felt led, family, in this study yourself. I actually feel this should also be a special message from the ancient ones. I really felt led to share my story on the importance of getting deeper into astrology and numerology. The things that they have made you fear, the things that they have demonized, are the things that you should revisit in this new season. And I grew up in a Roman Catholic environment, Roman Catholic family, and all of that, astrology, numerology, all of that was like spooky and stuff. But I remember, like, we used to have, that was the age of newspapers, the 90s, the late 80s, and so the newspapers would have a horoscope. And I can't remember, maybe when I was 15 or 16, I started reading my horoscope, to see like my daily horoscope and stuff, to see what was going on, because high school was intense. And a lot of you chosen ones know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, high school was so intense, and I feel like my family even took me to occult schools. Because another thing I really want to get into, family, is I really believe that Babylon had, these private schools that Babylon had across Africa, where very few African children were allowed to enter, were actually like, not only there were schools for their people, but it was also, they were looking for certain, royal priesthoods, is what I feel like. They were looking for certain children, because it really didn't make sense how, at that time, even when my mother was a single mother, how she was able to afford like the most elite school. And I remember that it had been a choice between a school here in Kenya, a boarding school, because I went to boarding school when I was like almost 6, family. So it was either a boarding school here or a boarding school in Malawi. And I think it was a Kamuzu Banda school or something, if you're in Malawi, and apparently that was a super elite school too. So I started to have these visions of how they had all these schools across Africa where they made sure that they've groomed the next generation, and not just the next generation of people or leaders in their system, but they've groomed the next generation of royal priesthoods, of shamans, of the high priestesses. Those are the ones they were looking for, and those are the ones who they even rewarded with scholarships and all these things to go to their universities and great jobs. And because I was even shocked, there's a few Kenyans who work for like NASA. I was like, what? How did Kenyans reach there? You know, and all these other things. And it's like they have taken certain people. And even when I meet certain, when I used to meet certain Africans, when I went to university in the divided states, the Africans that were in university, it's like we had been handpicked. There was nothing random about, you know, oh, I got a scholarship. Oh, my parents were working for this NGO. Or, oh, you know, we came from money. It was like hand selected. So if you ever went to some of those schools, you should see it. What were they grooming you for? But family. So long story short, for the first 18 years of my life, I celebrated my birthday on the wrong day. And when I found out was when I was getting my passport to go to university. And I remember it shook me to the core. Because I was sure I was born on this day. And yet I wasn't. It shook me to the core, family. And because of that, and then I relocated to Chicago. And that's when I started really looking into my astrological chart with this new birthday. Like, why would I be told I was born on another day? Because the day I'd been born on, I was just an average Joe, you know? When my true destiny is 11/22/33. If you know, you know. But I'm a 22 family. And so I kept wondering, why would they hide that? So I just started by looking into like my zodiac sign and everything. And then I started going down that rabbit hole. And I looked into numerology. And then I looked even into astrology of born on the certain day. And then now, as I got deeper, they started asking, okay, we need your birth time, because there was a lot of engines that could generate that. One of the most popular ones that is always recommended is Cafe Astrology. Don't take my word for it, because I'm always like, what are they doing with all the information that we clue in there? But anyway, they really give very free and very comprehensive like natal charts. So when I went to ask my folks when I was born, it was like this whole mystery. Like, was I born in the morning or was I born in the evening? And I remember and I'd always forget. They'd tell me you were born at this time, and then I'd forget and I'd have to ask again. It was so weird. And so I decided to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And it was amazing what I found out. And some of it was also scary because, you know, especially now when I got into numerology and then family, I've had like almost 5 different combinations of names. Like Mumbi Saraki, I've had 5 different combinations in my life. And I was like, why is there so much shift? Because I used to even have a Mzungu name. And so now I got into numerology and I started to look at how the name on my birth certificate was never the name I used. And my name was changed when I was christened. Obviously, all of us, our name is changed when we go into the church. But even when I went to school, they were given a false name. I mean, this thing is deep, family. And then now, when my mother remarried, I got another name. And when I went to Babylon, I had this other name. And so it was almost like it was a totally European, like German name. And that actually gave me a lot of access. I didn't recognize it, but like it got me a really good job. It got me interviews. I moved into a really nice neighborhood before I even understood what our African-American brothers and sisters were dealing with in terms of race. And I'd always see kind of a surprise when I walked in, because they really were expecting a blonde-haired, blue-eyed German woman to walk in. But, you know, and so that served as a grace. And I felt like that name at that time, hid me in plain sight while I was in the divided states, while I was in Switzerland, while I was living in Babylon and doing my thing. And just, living the dream, going totally nuts. And I had a different experience just because of the name. So at different stages in my life, I studied my chart, and every time I'd go a bit deeper. And then I really got into numerology, especially the obstacles Because if you know anything about numerology, a lot of my obstacles were zero, which is a very intense, it's an intense obstacle to have, or challenge. They call them challenges. And then I realized we're also cyclical. So there's who we are when we're 1 to 7, and then there's who we are when we're 8 to 14, and all these things, and then there's the Saturn return. So later on, I got even deeper into that. Now, when I went back to my birth name and referring to myself as my birth name, I noticed a whole change. And you see, family, before I came to YouTube, I also used to do media. And it's funny because before I did media, I was known as my Mzungu name. I'm not going to use my Mzungu name because some people don't even know who I am, but I was using my Mzungu name. But ever since I've had a show or anything, I've always been referred to as Mumbi. So it's like, it was always very interesting to me, all these dynamics. And so when I wanted to understand myself, I went deeper into like my date of birth, my time of birth, and then I probably got a wrong time of birth. So I looked at different times of births and how that would impact, my sun, my moon, my rising sign, my Venus sign, and all of that, and like looked at the charts. And the deeper I've gotten, there's so much. I think that's the best kind of map you can get about who you really are as a chosen one, because so much has been hidden from you. And some of you don't even know your masters. Like, as I said, I'm a 22. Some of you don't even know your masters. And when you realize your master, it will confirm so much about who you are on so many levels. And that's why I encourage you, as we're in a season of studying ourselves, go deep into your astrological chart. Look into your numerology. Even look at the Chinese, like the generation you were born in, the year you were born in, and the generation, and just look for what resonates. You are, of course, way bigger than that, but this will start to even give you insight. That's what I found. It gave me incredible insight into who I was. I also grew up in an environment where everything, everyone, every circumstance was trying to make me feel like I wasn't special, when nature was always telling me I was special. And so going into my chart, special, chosen one, whatever, however you want to put it, going into my chart confirmed a lot of the abilities that I came in with, but it also now educated me on the responsibilities that I also came in with. And just knowing that I had access to deeper levels of power, that I was a prophet. My grandmother called me a prophet, and then it was confirmed that I was a seer in my astrological chart and stuff like that. And that was an incredible start of a journey where so much was unlocked. And of course, my personality has gone way deeper and way beyond that. But that was the first thing that started to at least tell me who I was. And and there's other charts as well. There's charts where they look at different trees, and I don't know if it's by year or whatever, but you're connected to a certain tree. It's really important, different animals. So I would highly recommend, family, the reason I even share this is because after looking at all of this is when I became Dr. Mumbi Seraki, and I feel like that is the highest vibrating combination of my name. And there's different people who I've had this conversation with, or different people who have emailed me who were like, I came to Africa and I was christened this name and it totally changed my path. Or I dropped my Mzungu name and I took on this name and it totally changed who I was. It like transformed me, or I became more powerful, or I moved more into my path. And that's why I've always been such a massive advocate of, dropping your Mzungu name, because that's a character you're attached to. That's a personality. That's an energy. That's a signature you're attached to. And kind of looking into your own personality, learning yourself, and then naming yourself, either, through inspiration. You have a spiritual team, family. You're not alone. So if you really want to get a spiritual name, you will get it. And the thing is, we all have secret names. And most of the time, those that know your secret names are the ones who have been really able to control and manipulate you. That's like the key to unlock everything. But a name is just important because it's your signature. And so every time someone says Mumbi, It's like mother of all nations, mother of all nations. That empowers me, that inspires me, that realigns me. If I'm, in a bratty vibe or whatever, if I'm off, it will rebalance me and remind me of who I am. And that's the importance of names. So as you want to collect and claim your tools of power, one of your greatest tools of power is your charts. And you can do it online. You just need to do your research, family. Get deep into who are you? What names have you had? How does your name impact you? I mean, in the Asian world, no one will just name their company anything. They will look at the feng shui and astrological whatever luck of that name. And then if you look at how successful their businesses are when they come into our neighborhoods, there must be something to it. But we were taught to demonize and ignore all these things when that's where the real information, that's what people need to be studying. Not this math, English. That's what children need to be studying, their own charts, the charts of their nations, the metaphysics of the universe. Those are the things they need to be getting into. So, and especially, and that brings me to another, it's good I even brought up children. If you have children, family, please, please, please study their charts, study their astrology, study the numerology of the signature, the name you have given them. What does that look like? And it's funny because among the melanated nation, you can be named one thing, but then maybe your family will usually adopt a certain, name for you. You know what I mean? Like a nickname, which I almost feel sometimes is spiritual. So when I was growing up, my spiritual name was Bebe. Well, not spiritual, but like that was my nickname. Everyone called me Baby. And now when I look into it, when I reconnected with my cosmic family, this is going to sound crazy to some, but whatever. I realized I was the baby I was like the baby oracles of a family of oracles, like of a lineage of oracles. I was like baby. I'm the youngest. Like, I don't know how to put it energetically, but it shows how sometimes our nicknames are connected to our cosmic names. So family, study, study, study. Do you know even the name and the number, the apartment number, the house number that you live in also has its own vibration. There's some numbers which will give a house a vibration of like gatherings and family and getting together. There's others which are better for people who are more into communication because it's like a constantly moving energy. There's some which is just about like meditating and it's very peaceful and calm. So you need to get deeper because we're moving deeper into the spiritual world. And this will just be like a beginning for you. This is like just beginner's level. And it will open so many other doors to you because once you start to learn about this, you'll get excited about who you are. You'll see some of the challenges you've been dealing with like at every age of your life. And then you can now move into what are you in now? Like what season of your life are you in now? Are you in your Saturn return or whatever? And from their family, your spiritual team will come and give you even more information about that because I don't think we're limited to that. But that's kind of like, that's like the character we're taking on while we're here on Earth. That's the best way I'd put it. That's the character and the little capabilities that character has. There's more behind that. But it's much easier to be in flow with that character and realize how some things that you can magnify with that character and other things that you may need to like remain constantly aware of because it's a drawback, it's a challenge. Anyway, let me know. Tools of personal power. That's what this series is going to be known as, family. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Special shout out to, of course, everyone that supports us on Patreon. Go ahead and consider supporting this Black Awakening News channel, family. Until next time, tuko pamoja. looking for a conscious community, or for people, who are on their awakening journey, on their transition to an off-grid living in your country, well, we have the solution, family. We're calling it Unity Communities. We get so many emails every week from people who ask if I know of people in their region, or people in their city, or people in their town who are on a similar kind of journey, who have broken away or are breaking away from the religious psychosis, and they're looking for just people who think the same way in their town, in their city. But more importantly, to give us a community where we feel understood, understood, overstood, where we can bond with people of like mind. And if you feel called to be part of this, definitely email me at drmumbi at drmumbishow.com. Please put your country in the subject line with Unity Communities. Get in touch with me, drmumbi at drmumbishow.com. Unity Communities.